Hey guys, I'm back with one final video for the 5-Star Stories Neptune kit. This is going to be showing you how I'm making the display base for it. Starting with this piece of round wood. What it is a round container that I bought from Hobby Lobby. And it comes with this lid, which I don't want on, so it just unscrews pretty easy. However, it does leave some holes from the screws, but in my case that's not a big deal, so you could always fill it with wood putty if it bothers you. So to start with, I'm going to stain it. Instead of using your typical oil stains, I like to use acrylic paint. Just wet the wood a little, paint it with some acrylic. In my case, I'm using, I believe it was burnt umber. It's hard to tell because I'm not on camera, but I'm using a paper towel to wipe away the excess. And that's going to leave some of the wood grain, as opposed to just covering the entire thing with paint. So I've let the acrylic dry for a few hours, and now I'm going to put a clear coat on top of it for protection. I'm just going to use Mr. Super Clear gloss, the lazy way. So now it's the next day. I let the clear dry overnight, and it looks pretty good. It's not super glossy, but for now that's all I need. For the terrain, I'm going to be using this air dry clay, which I've actually never used before, so it's a learning experience for me. I did, however, watch a few YouTube videos on air dry clay, and that's why I have a cup of water you can see at the top of the screen. It was recommended to keep it wet while working on it. So the clay wasn't sticking to the gloss surface that well, so I got a little sandpaper and decided to rough it up a little. I'm also adding a slight bit of water to help it stick to the surface. Once I get the basic shape laid out, I'm going to take my tools, just start giving it some texture. It's based on a scene in the manga, which is kind of a desert environment, so I want it to be a little rough. So I went and got my iPad so I could put the scene in front of me to use as a guide, because there are certain areas that have little cracks and things I wanted to try to replicate. You can kind of see here. Here's another view of the cracks that I was talking about. At this point, I'm getting the model and smashing the feet into the clay so that it looks like it has a little weight. It's also leaving some marks in the bottom in the clay so that I'll know where to drill holes to mount it. So I think that's good. I'm gonna let it dry overnight. So it actually took 2 nights for it to dry completely, to harden completely, or whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, some of the clay stained the wood, so I'm going to use my burnt umber acrylic and just paint it back to cover that stained area. I'm also going to touch up the sides. Next, I'm going to use my hobby knife to mark where I'm going to drill holes so that I can mount the model. I'm using my Tamiya handy drill to make it quick and easy, and I've already drilled holes in the feet to match. So when test fitting the feet, I found a problem in the left foot. It actually doesn't sit flat, so I'm going to take the wire out and just give it a little bend, and that should fix it. To mount the wire permanently, I'm going to be using some epoxy putty to keep it in place. Once it's mixed, I just stick it to the wire underneath and let it cure. So now I'm going to paint the base. I'm using Vallejo acrylic paints. Looks kind of yellow in the video, but this color is a medium flesh tone. I know it's kind of weird to use a flesh tone as a ground color, but it's kind of a tan color, which is what I wanted anyway. Now I'm adding washes with some darker colors. Can't really remember what colors I used, but they're all earth tones. Now I'm going to use some lighter colors, in this case Iraqi sand, to do some dry brushing. This is going to help bring out some of the highlights and give a little contrast. So here I'm taking kind of a medium reddish color and just filling in some of the shadow areas. So now I'm going to use some acrylic gloss varnish for the wood to give it a little shine. So I'm using Silly Putty to mask the groundwork. I'm going to use Mr. Super Clear Flat just to spray to give it a little flat coat so it's not so shiny. Alright, so here it is after the flat coat and the gloss coat on the wood. Looks a little better. Now I'm going to add this little banner that I made in Photoshop using art from a book that I have. Here's a better image of it. Because it's something light like watercolor paper, I'm just gonna use regular white glue to glue it in place. And to center it up, I'm using this little crack as a guide. That's pretty much the center where the model stands. So I have a photo printer and I just printed it on regular watercolor paper. It's pretty thick, and after I printed it I just tore the edges like so. So that completes this project. I didn't really consider it 100% complete until I finished the base, but now that that's done, I can move on to the next project. Hope you enjoyed this little short video for a change. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe for more videos, and thanks for watching.